How's it going, people? Happy New Year and welcome to 2024 here on Top 6 Fan TV. The show is FanZone, our first FanZone show for 2024. And with me in the virtual studio is Musem, Man United fan, and Kevin Price, Arsenal fan. And as you would imagine, you're wondering, where are their jerseys? They're not wearing jerseys anymore because their results don't warrant that. But we'll get into the discussion around Manchester United and Arsenal in crisis, with City and Liverpool looking poised to take charge of the Premier League title. And we'll get into that discussion right after this. Fantastic. Welcome to FanZone, ladies and gentlemen. And it's been an interesting first half of the season. We are at the halfway point, ladies and gentlemen, and the top six are looking very much, I don't know, besides Liverpool and City, it's looking like a very inconsistent mix right there. But Musem, welcome to the studio. Manu Fan, you can say what's up.
Yeah, what's up, Matthew, Kevin, and everyone else? Happy New Year. Feels good to be back. It's been a minute. I don't know the last time I showed up on in these streets, but yeah, it's good to be back.
Man United were winning then, but hopefully you'll kick off a run
It's
with
easy
your
to talk
return.
good.
Kevo, you're most welcome. You can say hi to the virtual audience, sir.
Yes, Matthew, how are you doing? And yourself? It's good to be back. It's been ages. I think I was last here, maybe September, November. I don't remember. But it's good to be back. Obviously, the team is not in shape, but hope to see a better 2024. Thanks, and also cheers to all the viewers with us right now.
Fantastic. Also coinciding with the last time Arsenal had a decent run. I don't know what is going on here, you gentlemen, but we'll get right into the discussion. But before we do that, if you're just joining the channel, the show is FanZone right here on Top 6 Fan TV. Feel free to hit that like button. Most importantly, hit the subscribe button and take part in the conversation. Feel free to drop your comment and we'll be happy to read it and get back to you. Getting back to action, gentlemen, the traditional top six as we know it: Manchester United, Manchester City, Liverpool, and the London clubs, Chelsea, Chelsea, Arsenal, and Spurs, are not necessarily firing on all cylinders, apart from obviously City and Liverpool, who are at the top of the table right now. First place, if I'm just going through the Premier League table, first place, Liverpool, 45 points. Second place, surprise package of the season, Aston Villa. Good evening, it is at the top of the table, 42 points. Manchester City in third place there on 40 points with a game in hand, followed by Arsenal on 40 points level, of course, having played a game more than Man City. Fifth place, Spurs, who are still in it on 39 points, one game less. And from that, you will have to go all the way down to eighth place to look for our beloved Manchester United, who are on 31 points with a goal difference of -5. The only team in the top 10 with a negative goal difference, Manchester United. My goodness. And then, of course, Chelsea, who are in 10th position on 29 points. Mosem, what has gone wrong at Old Trafford? Eric Ten Hag seems to be losing the plot. Has he lost the dressing room? Or is it just a rotten situation at Manchester United? What's going on?
Actually, you've summed it up properly there. I think before we came on, we were talking about it. The club has been rotten for a long time. When you look at the trends all the way from when Fergie left, every coach seems to do 6 months, one season, then things fall apart. 6 months, one season, things fall apart. From Van Gaal Mourinho, we saw Solskjaer. Solskjaer came in one season, things were good. Next season, things are bad. Ten Hag comes in, one season, things are good. This season, things are falling apart. So it shows you that actually the rot is in the club. There's a structure that is not working. There's a and pin Ten Hag for all his flaws, but then you're going to go through the same cycle. Fire Ten Hag, get another coach who will have a manager bounce, buy in a few players here and there, and then the next season things fall apart. So I think it's a big problem. Of course, during the summer break, we were hoping that maybe we'd get new owners. These guys, the Glazers, don't seem to care about football as a sport. They are more interested in the commercial value of the club. And I think over the years, they've made so much money from the club. They've sucked so much money from the club. And, everything has gone to shreds. When Ronaldo came out here and made a very hard missive about the club, people, said many things. But I think he was the only person who had the clout to come out and say the things he said without having, an effect on his career or his commercial value. Nobody else could say it. But every coach has come out and said, the club is rotten. Many things are wrong. I think there's a picture that came out of the receptionist greeting Radcliffe. She's like 100 years old. I mean, this club is
man, you guy. Now, even the receptionist is being blamed for Man United's performance.
What it shows is that this club still has the same people from 100 years ago. That's what Ronaldo was trying to say. The gym is messed up. The training places, all the pundits have talked about how the stadium is in pieces. I think
the roof is leaking.
The roof is leaking. There was a time they showed where the toilets were flooding. I mean, it's a disaster. Actually, there's a time. No, I think Beckham's kids were at Man City's academy. I think Fletcher took his kids from the Man U academy to the Man City academy. I think he has twins. He took them to the Man City academy. So that shows you that nobody still has faith in the facilities that are at Old Trafford. So the club is rotting from top to bottom. Now, before we even get onto the pitch, there's just too much wrong behind what's in the club. So we will get to Ten Hag's flaws later, but the club structurally is in pieces. It's a mess.
Kevo, do you agree with that assessment? And I mean, what needs to be done?
Funny enough, when Ronaldo said these things back sometime, was it last year or the year before? No United fan, as in, I remember there was great upheaval. Guys were so disappointed. The guy should be sold. Let him go. But now, years later, the guy, and I'm a big Ronaldo fan, and I kept telling guys, there's no way this guy can say these things just to get himself out of the club. But the guy had showed true passion, I think. For TikTok views, I don't know. So I think the truth is these guys have, the management has problems, the coaching has issues, and my colleague has spoken about the management and the ownership and so forth and the infrastructure. Me now I'll talk about Ten Hag, because Ten Hag, I thought off the season he had last year, I think he had a decent season. That season really was not so bad. So the expectation was this year, let's see him implement a playing style which can, take the team forward. And I think the problem is United don't have a clear playing style. 1 minute they are playing counter-attacking football. The next they are trying to play possession. Then you don't know what exactly is going on. People are playing out of position. Bruno on the wings. Today Rashford is on the right wing. Tomorrow is on the left. Then you have Martial, who doesn't seem to be in the plans, but he's there. Actually, I read somewhere that he may be even getting contract extension. I don't know how true it is.
Man, 10-year contract.
So it's not true. But there is too much kavuyo. And I think Ten Hag, much as there's a lot of baggage around him, you cannot deny there's a lot of baggage around the guy. There's a lot to deal with. Players who are rebelling, players who have to leave. But he has also not put himself in glory by not establishing a clear playing. We're not seeing, for example, the Spurs guy, Postecoglou. You can clearly see he came, he imposed this style, and they said it will not work. You leave, play high line, and so forth. But at least you can see a clear evolution of what he wants his team to play. I fail to see what Ten Hag is trying to do. That's the trouble I have. We'll speak about Arteta later on, but you can see even despite Arsenal failing, he has stuck with his inverted left backs or right backs, whatever. You can see the pressing game. It may not be working, but at least you can see a direction where he wishes to go. So that's my issue with Ten Hag. He doesn't have, and I think the players, I don't know if there's player unrest there or something. They don't seem to be getting him. I don't know. Anyway, those are my 2 cents. Ten Hag himself was also a problem, and the problem is you fire Ten Hag. Who do you bring in now? Who do you get in this January to take over? So it's a mess, United. I don't know, but wait and see. They just have to bear with Ten Hag and try and maybe get something going. One game they seem to be getting it right. They come and play well against maybe Aston Villa. You think things are back. Then again, it's downhill from there. Then again, they go win another game. Then again, it's downhill. So it's it's of some kind. So I don't know, but somehow United are not too far off. They're number 8. If they can put up some sort of run, I don't know if it's possible. There's a time they were, I think, 5th or something, and I was even shocked. Despite the bad season we have been yapping about, they found themselves 5th. Now they're down to 8. So I don't know. United, big mess.
Let me ask. Musem, let me just check in with you. Do you agree with that? You've talked about the issues structurally, right? Externally, the other external factors outside the playing, outside the pitch for United, But Kevin has touched on the issues on the pitch, the manager, and I seem to agree with him and see where it's coming from in terms of playing style. Team selection, something is not right there. Obviously, the injuries have played their part because, in my view, you have Lisandro Martinez, Varane, and Casemiro, and all the other guys around them playing regularly. You don't concede the goals that United conceded at Nottingham Forest. Me and a different fan, obviously, was watching that and just wondering how come this guy has so much space to put his shot in, like where are the guys, and everyone looks confused. And of course, in addition to that, I don't know what you think about also the dressing room. Kevin touched on it quite lightly, but the dressing room, obviously, if the management has faith in him, he might ride that storm. But the fact that Varane is not having his contract renewed, obviously we know what the issue is with Jadon Sancho. We're not sure about Rashford. A few things in there, and of course losing games dents that morale. What do you think? Do you agree with those thoughts first of all, in terms of Ten Hag? Is he the right man? And what do United need to do right to get their chances of Champions League lifted?
Okay, like I'd said that I would get to the manager and the pitch issues, but I think both of you have raised very key issues, and you're actually spot on. So if I'm to diagnose Ten Hag's tenure at Man United, so last season was a very good season, and of course you could see what he wanted to do. You have a structure. You've mentioned the players: Martinez, Varane, Casemiro. That's how you build teams with that kind of structure. The defense in the middle, the spine has to be clear. Then you go on to the front, get a striker, score goals. Okay. So he went into the market and got a striker. Okay. Albeit it being a young guy who's just learning the ropes. We can discuss that another time, but he had a plan. So we go back to some of the issues. You have to agree that the World Cup of last year actually affected most of these teams. And that's why you're all shocked that United is still within, yeah, because all the other teams are actually suffering the same issue. The World Cup affected all those teams. If anything, the only team that has been firing mostly all the way from last season is Arsenal. And when you look at it, Arsenal never had many players who played in the World Cup. They were there, but most of them were either sitting on the bench or were, cameo roles. So you see, actually, the most consistent team has been Arsenal, but the rest have suffered injuries. Man City hasn't fired so much. Liverpool has been somehow getting over the line. Spurs, Chelsea, all those other teams, you see, they are all suffering. Castle has suffered so much because they went into bigger things of playing in, Champions League and things like that. So all the teams have suffered. It has been actually a slow start to the league this season just because of that World Cup. So how does that affect United? All the players, you're looking at Casemiro. Casemiro is on his last legs, okay? Played the full season, did get injured, went into a World Cup, came back. The man played like 2 games, dead. Varane, same. Guys are on their last legs, dead. Martinez played the whole entire World Cup all the way to the final. He's a World Cup winner. Came into the preseason, injury. So you see, so you see that whole thing affected the plans that he had. Of course, the plan that he had was bring Onana. Onana was not brought in to goalkeep, make saves, the guest style. No, he was brought in to start play from the back, pass it to players who can actually pass the ball. Martinez is one of the best passers we had last season. You give the ball to Martinez, Martinez will find Casemiro, and then you move, you go forward. I was watching one of those funny games, either Bournemouth versus Fulham, those Mino teams. Yeah. And I was amazed by how many teams can actually pass the ball through the middle of the pitch. United cannot do that. Every time I watch a United game, we can't seem to pass the ball through the middle from number 4 to number 6, number 6 to number 8, number 8 to number 9. Never. A game can end when you've made like one sequence of such passes or 2. So that really affected the plans that the man had. He has made many blunders. He's really lost the dressing room. Of course, if you remember, Ten Hag worked with Pep at Bayern.
Yeah.
That is the fundamental. You cannot run with a team if you have no control. We know how Pep does his thing. If you're not in line,
full control.
If you're not in line, you're out. So Ten Hag comes and tries to pull the same stunt. Unfortunately, United structurally is a mess. Players have too much power. Okay? Players have too much power that you find that if a manager comes in and is not in control, you lose the dressing room. Before you know it, you're out. Okay?
So are the players the issue or the manager or both?
It's a mixture of all. Everybody has a fault to play, because you see, every time you come and stamp your authority, okay, and then you see that it's not driving, it's not rubbing the guys the right way, you have to find a balance. Unfortunately, the man has stuck straight through to a point that you're now going to be forced to send Sancho back on loan where he came from. Okay, then what does that mean? The stories were that Jordan Sancho was a very bad team player at Borussia Dortmund. Okay, he used to come late for training and all those things. But why are they taking him back? Yes, if he was that bad. So that means that the coach needed to find a balance. You can only be so straightforward, okay, to stamp your authority, but then you don't have that much power. You see, when Ferguson used to do it, Ferguson had the power of the top structure. He had the right to wield the axe and say, Beckham, you've lost it. I want you out of this club. And Beckham was sold. Beckham was a brand. You were sold. You understand? Now here is Ten Hag stuck with multimillionaires who have more power than him. Okay, so it becomes
that's no situation of 2 years ago. Eh?
Exactly, it becomes difficult for a manager to run what he wants to do when you have such players. And you see, when he brings in the youngsters, Mino, Hannibal, and the likes, you can tell them to do. Garnacho. You can tell them to do things and they know that the cost of not doing those things is either you're out of the team or I'm going to sell you in the next window. Okay. But Sancho was the laziest player we had. Okay. Every time Sancho would get on the ball, he would lose it. He would not chase. He would not fall back. What do you expect the manager to do? Of course, you expect that when they went into training, maybe some sharp words were said, the man came late, and you have to stamp your authority. So there's been that clash in the dressing room. You feel that he's lost that dressing room. Okay.
So what needs to happen? Sorry for cutting you in, but
no.
What needs to happen between now and the season?
No.
You Champions League places?
You have to let Ten Hag stay, because you cannot get another coach to come into that club. It's too toxic. It's too rotten. Okay. He's had his flaws, but last season is just an example that, given things falling in place for him, he has a plan, and if well executed, it can actually yield a lot of results. I have a lot of bad things I can say about Ten Hag, but I think he should be given the time to, one, wipe out all the bad signings that he made. I don't know if it's him or someone else made those signings for him. Let them be cleared.
That is another issue, by the way. His signings.
You understand? Yes, the signings. That's another issue. So give him a chance to flip that dressing room, maybe another season, another window or two, and then we see, because you clearly know what he can do. We've seen it at Ajax. He worked with Pep at Bayern, and that's where modern football is going. If anyone knows where modern football is going, it's Ten Hag. I don't see how you bring back Mourinho or all those other managers. They can't help, really. They can't help. That's what I can say.
Okay. I mean, we also, as opposition fans, would like Ten Hag to be given another chance. We are enjoying the show at the moment, especially with our queen dancer Onana. But hopefully things start to turn the corner for Manchester United. But speaking of teams that are lacking the ability to pass the ball and create effective attacking patterns, Arsenal, Kevin, I don't know what is going on with the Arsenal. 2 weeks ago, they were top of the table. Now they are in fourth place, albeit not so big a distance between them and Liverpool. But with Manchester City having a game in hand and welcoming Kevin De Bruyne, what did Klopp say this week? Klopp said the whole country, watches Kevin De Bruyne training on the side of the pitch and starts shaking. So you can tell that even the Liverpool guys are like, hey, this guy, when he gets onto that pitch, it's going to be trouble. I mean, even the other fans watching, I mean, can you imagine? And interestingly, we're only talking about Kevin De Bruyne and, of course, Haaland, who will, of course, get back to that pitch at the end of this month. After that, there's like a 2-week winter break after this round of FA Cup, right? Especially for the big boys. So you expect the last week of January, these guys to come back full force. We're not even talking about the guy who so effectively benched Jack Grealish in the first half of the season, who is also due to come back. So can you imagine an attack? Or can you imagine Jeremy Doku, Kevin De Bruyne, this other side Bernardo Silva, and of course Haaland running at you in defense? That would be something interesting. But what's gone wrong for Arsenal, Kevin? Guys are struggling here. Their defense is all of a sudden looking shaky, conceding from set pieces. But the most glaring issue that they seem to have is they can't stick the ball in the back of the net. Their team play and attacking fluidity from last season is gone. The front four are not firing. What is going on and what needs to be done to salvage the situation, Kevin?
Matthew, one can easily tell you're an Arsenal fan. The passion, the intro, eh? That was some intro too. To the Arsenal KB. Eh?
We are not happy with the situation.
There's no bias there. Anyway, now to begin with, let's begin from last season. I think last season was one where we outdid ourselves. When the season was starting last season, when the season was kicking off, I think the goal was top four. No one expected Arsenal to be in the title conversation. But lo and behold, by December we were on top. Though we didn't play the 19 games, I think we played only 14, but we went for the break for World Cup having been on top, which was a bit deceptive because one, we had not played City yet. Remember the game was postponed. And then also we had played 14 games. We had played 5 games shy of the actual, what would have been halfway, you know. So we come back from World Cup and things start to unravel. But then somehow we finished second despite falling off the radar City. Now, this season kicks off and Arteta seems to have, I don't know if it's the loss of Granit Xhaka, but the playing style seems to have changed. He seems to have gone for control first. Let's control the game and a bit of the Mourinho approach, pragmatism, a bit of defense. He seems to have solidified because at some point we had the best defense in the league until maybe forget about till these last 3 or 4 games where we've conceded I don't know how many goals. But at some point we had actually the best defense in the league. So you could see it was a more control. It wasn't gang ho like how we'd go last season. Like now we would just blitz teams in the first 15 minutes. So, but in that way, I think a lot has been lost in the team. This system also, we have been found out. I think, if you should say so, teams have learned how to play us, and we are not failing. We are failing to move, find another dimension, a plan B, so to say. So we can't seem to move on. I don't know what we're going to do, but the whole thing needs a refresh. Saka is double teamed. He can't play off the double team. Martinelli is double teamed. Same thing. Kai Havertz is still finding his ground. Rice lately is off the boil. Zinchenko is a problem, and is the only left back. While the other left backs are all injured. Tomiyasu is not available. Even went for Asia Cup when he came back. We don't have Tierney who's on loan. Who else plays there? Zinchenko himself is also injured now. Did I say that? So now we have no left back as we speak.
Yeah.
As we speak, up left back. Right backs, Ben White is also injured. You have no Tomiyasu used to play there. You don't have Timber who's injured. So now we left with Cedric. His arm is going to play possibly the FA Cup game against Liverpool.
Can you imagine?
So there's
that's the equivalent of Johnny Evans.
Exactly. So we have injury problems, we have form problems, we have no plan B. So it's, and you can see, I was seeing our next fixtures here. We have Pool in the FA Cup this weekend. Ironically, I don't know why I'm positive about this game. I have a feeling we may be, just for the simple fact that Liverpool have Carling Cup midweek semi-final first leg. So they seem to have to think about 2 games. They may think about their team. Well, that's for us really. We have to go with that full strength team because our next game is 2 weeks away against Crystal Palace. But Liverpool have a game midweek. So, and Salah has gone. That is their X factor player. So there's some positive. I'm not fully positive, but at least just for that mere fact that, because they're the better form team right now. So then we have Crystal Palace, which is also 2 weeks away, and then Nottingham away is tricky. Burnley away is tricky with our current form, you know. Then we play Porto, but really on the paper we should be beating all these teams. Maybe apart from Pool, which is wait to see how things go. So we are not in the best shape, and I hope this January the guy can sign maybe 2 players. I don't know, a left back. Need someone to play with Rice, either to play for him or play alongside him, because Partey, I don't know how reliable he is. You see, I think they even left him out of the AFCON team, Ghana. That shows you that even them are not depending on him so much. So issues, Matthew, issues. I don't know, but many issues.
Yeah, I know. I mean, the issues for Arsenal, of course, mounting, and as you can see there, a few weeks ago, we saw such defensive cohesiveness that you would not see an image of Gabriel and Declan Rice there, seemingly having a miscommunication on the pitch. That is symbolic of what's going on right there. Although this is at set pieces, so it can happen. But I mean, the key issue really fluidity on attack. And I mean, Sam, I don't know whether you agree with that. There's been a lot of clamor around Arsenal needing to have a striker, buy a striker. Gabriel Jesus, Edin Ketia are not, of the caliber that really a team chasing the title should have for striking force, and it reflects in the statistics actually. I mean, in the English Premier League, Saka is now our top scorer with 6 goals. Edin Ketia, who comes from the bench once every 60 games, is second on 5 goals. We don't know what's going on with Gabriel Martinelli, Odegaard. The goals have dried up, and of course Gabriel Jesus, who admitted himself, you're not going to get 20 goals from the guy. He'll first run around and he has more impact, which is actually ideal. So, do Arsenal need a new striker? Do they need reinforcements in defense? Is it all about players? Of course, they have the injuries, but all other teams are struggling with injuries. We can see what's happening to Newcastle at the moment with injuries. Man United, you could also argue their defense struggling with injuries. Is it just that, or do Arsenal? I mean, is Arteta also to blame tactically for this? I believe the latter. I don't know. Arteta hasn't yet figured out a different way to rotate his attacking squad, because I believe you score more goals. I mean, we saw with Newcastle, Aston Villa, West Ham, the chances. I mean, they failed to stick the ball into the back of the net, albeit with West Ham, they had a lot more chances than the other two, or rather than Newcastle to create. But where do you think the issue lies, and what is the solution for Arsenal?
Well, my last submission, I think I was talking about you said you're not going to allow Arteta something. You said something, but I remember maybe 2 seasons ago, you guys were in the same position we're in with Ten Hag, but you gave him time and things somehow kind of worked out a bit. So yeah, Arteta, like Kevin has said, somehow maybe he went ahead of the curve, because last season nobody expected you guys to challenge for the title, but somehow he was very consistent, and by December you guys were on top. Okay, but I think the team is still putting it together. It's not had a striker for a long time. I don't know how you play and compete with Man City with 5 goals from your best player Saka. I don't know how many Martinelli has. He has now 6. Okay, so Kevin mentioned that you guys have been found out. Of course, you just know if you close out Saka and Martinelli, it's a wrap. Yes, it's a wrap. The goals are Odegaard. Yes, the goals are not going to come in. Odegaard, by the way, Odegaard is of the 3 is the most inventional. He can find his way around things, but
that's true.
He doesn't score as many as the others. Okay, so it's strange. It's strange, but somehow in this gang-ho system of yours, one of your best players in that mix was Xhaka. You might say all the bad things you want about Xhaka, but the way he was driving that team forward, okay, it is different from how Rice does it. Okay, Rice is a very powerful midfield player. He can run across that whole midfield. Okay, but when it gets to that point of we are now moving forward, okay, Rice doesn't give you much.
I think you mean Kai Havertz, really, because in terms of progressive carries.
So yeah, progressive carries. Okay, Kai Havertz. In your old team, it was Zaha, Partey, and Odegaard, right?
Yes.
So you've switched that midfield. You've put
Havertz, Rice,
and Havertz, and then Odegaard. Okay. So you see that Partey should be sitting. Okay.
Yes, ideally.
Right? All right. Then Zaha was moving forward and getting you a few goals. I think he had like 5 goals last season. And Kai Havertz is not doing that. So Rice now cannot fill that gap. He cannot be the one doing all the dirty work and then giving you that push, yeah, outside the box. Those shots, when there's a low block, somebody has got to shoot, okay? And that's how Saka was scoring these goals. When you close off Martinelli, you close off Saka, Odegaard and Saka were just shooting, and goals were coming in. So, of course, there needs to be a plan B. But what's the plan B?
Exactly.
Sometimes it's very difficult to say plan B. Okay, not many teams, even Pep. When Pep meets a low block team, most of those games it's either individual brilliance or sometimes he goes on and loses that game. We've seen Leeds, we've seen Wolves beat him here and there. Okay, so it's easy to sit here and say, what's the plan B? Okay, but you've got to have as many quality players in that team as possible. Right now, you don't have a striker.
Exactly.
Jesus cannot even give you 15 goals.
Exactly.
So it becomes very difficult when all these other players are off. Martinelli is off, Salah is double teamed, Odegaard is struggling with injury. Who's going to do something spectacular? There's no one. So I think you're missing that part. You need a few more quality individuals in that team. Then you consistently chase the juggernaut that is Pep. Because now, as all teams are fluttering, Liverpool has lost Salah to the AFCON. Arsenal is in its mess.
We have lost Tomiyasu to the Asian
You've lost
Cup.
almost all the players in defense. Then now Pep is getting all his best players
His
back.
team back, yeah.
Yes, what does that mean? That means that the man is going to put on a run of 10 games. 10 games are just enough. Yeah, I think this season to create the gap, because all teams are suffering. Injuries are still biting. I think you guys are now going through another session of injuries, and it's going to leave you very weak. And Arteta, we were here making noise, telling you guys to give Arteta time and trust the process. Yes, it might have been a little bit ahead of the curve, but you can see what he's doing. It's been consistent. You've been the most consistent team from last season, despite your lack of a striking powerhouse. But I think you should be given more time to bring in more players, especially
more money.
Yeah, and more money. Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Thanks, Musem. Comment coming in here from Duncan Claude saying, one of the rare times I want my team to lose. We are better off out of the FA Cup. I think this is an Arsenal fan. You sense the frustration. There's no way a Liverpool fan would type that. So, Duncan Claude, please be strong. Be strong. We're here with you. Maybe pray a bit more. It's a new year.
Trust the process.
But trust the process. But I'm telling you, when guys are playing side to side, like as if, there's no midfield. When they get to midfield, it's like they're playing tennis. Yeah, guys start passing the other way, pass it back. You're waiting for him to go forward, and you find yourself as a fan, the one who has moved forward closer to the screen. So it becomes a problem with this team. So we'll wait to see what happens. Thanks for that comment, Duncan Claude. Rest of you who are out there, please do keep the comments coming in, but most of all, like and subscribe the content. We're spoken about Manchester City, of course, being a threat right there. Arsenal and Man United, we are done with you. But how about this gentleman here, Kevin? Liverpool, we spoke about the inefficiencies of Arsenal's attack. Liverpool are quite the opposite of that. If you fail to bring, you fail to have goals raining down on you from the other guys. There's always an Egyptian magician in there, and Mo Salah, who has a moment of brilliance. But you could argue, actually, with Liverpool, speaking of moment of brilliance, right? We're talking about a shot, unexpected shot from outside the box. We have seen Zoboslai do this. We have seen the likes of McAllister do this, right? They seem to have, of course, and Luis Diaz, they seem to have more of players that can produce moments of magic and brilliance than the rest of the pack. Even Manchester City, I would argue, because Manchester City, if you nullify the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, you nullify Haaland, especially if you're starting, and then you manage Jeremy Doku. You could argue, of course, double team up on the likes of Phil Foden, Bernardo Silva. Yeah, you can manage a few guys, but all those guys we have spoken about, with the exception of Kevin De Bruyne, do not shoot from outside the box, if I'm not mistaken. Same thing with Arsenal. Actually, the Arsenal, and the guy who shoots from outside the box is maybe the defenders when they are making long passes into the attacking third. But I mean, they're, Odegaard, we're not seeing much of that. So, Kevin, Liverpool, with their fantastic Arsenal, forgive the pun, in attack there, are looking quite solid. What's your take on them? They are top the table. Do they go on and win the title ahead of Manchester City? Manchester City have cocked their gunpowder. It's nice and warm, and they're ready to go. But what's your take on Liverpool for the second half of the season? Klopp is on fire. Liverpool are on fire. Will they suffer from the lack of Mo Salah?
Yeah. Just to take, I was just seeing here. Liverpool. Okay, Liverpool have two issues. One, I feel the first thing they've been over reliant on Salah for their goals. He's been heavily involved in the goals, either with an assist or scoring, or even the pre-assist, the pass before the assist. It's all been Salah. Nunes, for all his good work, he's been missing many chances. Put it plain and simple. Diaz also looks a bit off. The guy who looks like he's going to help them a lot is Jota, who has come back from injury. And what a time to be back when Salah is leaving, because Jota, he has kicked off from what I've watched. He has kicked off from where he left off. He looks to be in shape. He looks to be on form. Other than that, they look solid defensively, but the problem has been scoring goals. They have been having an issue scoring goals. There's been many times when they have had to depend on Salah's brilliant, just taking the game by. Even the Arsenal game which we watched, they really had failed to score that goal until Salah just took, the dribble past Zinchenko.
He just
took the game by the scruff of its hand, and that's what he did. So I believe without Salah being in that game, Arsenal could even have won that game 1-0. That's how reliant Liverpool are on Salah. Now, Salah goes for AFCON, and I'm seeing their fixtures here because Salah, for us, your position, we obviously praying that Salah reaches the final. Final is on Feb. I see it's on Feb 10th. No? It's the 10th? Around there. Around. I think 12th or something. 10th is the third place playoff. Now, if you look at Liverpool's fixtures, they have they start with Arsenal this weekend. They then have to deal with the EFL semi-final, Fulham. Then they have Bournemouth in there, a tricky trip to Bournemouth away, one of the most, if not the informed team. They have Chelsea, depending on the day. Chelsea can't know what you get, but Chelsea seems to play big teams well. So that's also tricky for them. Then they come to Emirates for the return leg of Premier. Then they play Burnley, that one they should win. So I'm trying to get to where I'm trying to get the banana skin of when Salah is not around. So that is where Salah is not available. Those are the games. So I believe when Salah is back, it's business as usual. They'll just kick off, hoping he doesn't get an injury and he comes back in shape. Because with Salah around, I think these guys are going to push City all the way. I do believe. The banana skins are here. So, and there are not many games. It's really Arsenal in the Premier League, which is missing.
Chelsea,
maybe Chelsea and Bournemouth.
And Brentford away.
Brentford away, yes. But Brentford has been really
poor, yeah.
It has been poor. But Ivan Toney will be back for that game, though. He should be back. With
the Arsenal game or the Brentford?
The Brentford game. Ivan Toney should be around. That's if he's still playing for Brentford.
That's what I meant.
The plan is that Tony will end up at Arsenal in the January window.
I don't know.
Indeed.
Arsenal looks like they are scattered in this. I don't know. They from the transfers I'm seeing. I don't know. You know, Arsenal. If the problem with Arsenal is with our issue right now, a bid should have been on the table by now. We should have. I believe we are getting Tony. We should have been now. Should have been. But the guy, I don't know. No. But that's Arsenal. So Liverpool, they have a few banana skin games, and if they can navigate those, if they manage to pass through this with victories minus Salah, then I think we leave the league title to be fought between Liverpool and City. Because City are back for sure. De Bruyne is
For
coming
sure.
back. You had Klopp's message. Klopp scored. And it's the truth. Haaland is also coming back from injury. So those are like new signings basically. Haaland has missed almost a month of football, just resting.
Mm-hmm.
De Bruyne is going to be very fresh. So I believe if they can navigate that, if they can navigate those games, but if they even make a mistake of losing one or two, the way City are back, City and give you a gap. I think it will be City's to lose. But let's see how they go through these. Though these two Arsenal games, as an Arsenal fan, I do not know why without Salah there, I'm a bit confident. Though Arsenal, you go with confidence sometimes and you end up scoring 5 goals. But let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. Yes, how it
I,
goes.
yeah, thanks, Kevin. I actually think for Liverpool in the Liverpool games, Diogo Jota is much more of a threat than the rest of the attacking firepower for Liverpool. He always gets a goal against Arsenal. I don't know why, but he's a solid guy. Of course, having him back is a boost
It's
for
like
Klopp.
it's like your olden day Firmino. That's his
Exactly.
game.
Exactly. Very solid chap. Comment coming in here from Maurice Andrew, who is a Liverpool fan. He says Liverpool will manage in the absence of Salah. If the attacking line stays fit, they will come through. Robertson comes back end of Jan. Maka is back to cover Endo gap. This is McAllister is back. Zoboslai, I'm told, is going to miss a few games during January. As well, he has a light injury there, so that might be a miss for Liverpool in midfield. Endo, of course, being out, and McAllister is back. That's what Maurice says. Andrew, thanks for that comment. Feel free to keep the
And
comments coming.
ironically, just to make a comment, ironically, Endo had finally started playing his best football. He had finally found the six they're looking for. Because I think McAllister has not played that role very well. Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
He is not a six. He's like, I think McAllister should be playing where Szoboszlai is playing.
Mm-hmm.
So Klopp has had to choose between the two, and McAllister has had to allow, like how Shaka used to play six at Arsenal. Yet he was not a six. We all knew Shaka was a six, but that's the same thing. So it's a shame Endo has gone when finally he was playing the role that he was supposed to play. I don't know when the Asian Cup ends though. I don't know if it's the same thing like AFCON
Same
where
time as AFCON.
so they will miss him also.
Mid-Feb.
They will miss him also because he was playing really well. He was really playing very well. That's a big loss. Yeah.
Fantastic. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, KDB and Haaland in the picture will be returning in the next couple of weeks for Manchester City. So it's box office stuff. Grab your popcorn. Manchester City are the steam train that are ready to run everyone over. And of course, they do have the likes of Julian Alvarez and Phil Foden also in their ranks. Not to mention Count Dooku, as some people call him, Count Doku, Jeremy Doku as well, coming back at the same time as Haaland at the end of the month. So it's going to be a very interesting, end to the second half of the Premier League. I expect, and of course, with the likes of Aston Villa also being stubborn, Musem, I'll pull you into this one. The other ones, the outsiders, so to speak. Aston Villa in there, you would argue Spurs, when Madison comes back, are also going to be a very big problem. Madison and the centre back, what's his name? I forget the guy, the Dutch guy, Mickey van de Ven, has also been out for Spurs. He was also a very important rock. And of course, they have a very solid goalkeeper, Spurs, right there, in Guglielmo Vicario, who I think is absolutely solid in terms of shot stopping. His delivery is also not so bad. And with the likes of Udogi on the wings and Pedro Porro, if you put Mickey van de Ven next to the trigger Picuti Romero right there, you do have a decent defense to build upon. And of course, Madison has been phenomenal for them. Barring in the injury, I think he was among the top two signings really of the first half of the season. But the outsiders, do they push this lot a lot further. We're really, I think we're looking at Aston Villa and Spurs. Really, I would say out of Arsenal, Man City, and Liverpool, those are the others that would really challenge. Of course, with Manchester United as the outsiders, only considering that they'll be only considered if they can pick up the steam and put together a run. But who adds more pressure onto the top three for you between Aston Villa and Spurs?
Okay, in terms of a more structured, solid team, of course, it's Aston Villa. Of course, we know what Unai Emery can do. Unai Emery has the record to stand for his works. He won the league in France. He's won the Europa Cup several times. I mean, the guy is a winner. So it's a shame that he couldn't make it at Arsenal. But I think in Unai Emery, you had gotten a very solid coach, a guy who understands football, and a guy who has been in the game for long. So what's happening to these smaller clubs now is that all these rejected coaches are ending up in these clubs, and that's why you see the gap between top and bottom has actually reduced. These smaller clubs are getting all those rejected coaches who were actually solid coaches, but were at very big clubs that required quick success and were dumped out. So I think Unai Emery has a more solid team. However, I fear for their progression in the. I think they're in the Conference League. They're still playing in the Conference League. I think they qualified. So
yeah. I think it's Conference League. Yeah, I just
yes.
double check that. Yeah.
So we wait to see how that will affect, because then they will have more games than Spurs. Because Spurs now has one game. They play one game a week. They're not in Europe. Yes, they're not in Europe. And so when all these injuries come back, then they can push some kind of run, because their gang ho style is catching many teams off guard. Okay, before you know it, you're 3-0 down. They can consider another two, but still go on to win the game 3-2. Of course, they're going to suffer that Son has gone to the Asian Cup. He's a talisman in that team. The goals are going.
By the way, I forgot to mention, in addition to Son, African Cup of Nations, Bissouma and Pap Matassa, who have been solid for them in defense, are also out. I've also gone to AFCON. Yeah.
So this period is also going to be a test for them. Without that midfield of Bissouma and Pap Matassa, and then their talisman Son. So you're going to be stuck with Richarlison. He's found his boots a bit. But you can't depend on him to score the goals that Son has been scoring. Son is one of the most lethal strikers, forwards in European football, because he doesn't take many chances, but he will score. Okay, he will score 2 goals out of 3 chances. Yes. So those two teams, yes, are going to push. The rest of the chasing pack is a joke for now. I don't see how Manu is a mess in many ways. Chelsea, they blow hot and cold. They show up for a big team, then they lose, the game that they expected to win. So let's leave it between Spurs and Villa to push. I want to think that Villa might make it into the top 4, but we wait to see how the Conference League affects the team, because they are yet also to suffer those crazy injuries, and we know they might come, because the more games, FA Cup is coming in. Then the European football will be back. The games will pile up. A few injuries to Oli Watkins and maybe a David Lewis, and Villa might also suffer a bit. But I think my bets are on Villa to make it into the top 4, and Spurs might just follow behind if they keep consistent when Son comes back.
Brilliant. We were losing you there, but we get the point. And I think we'll leave it at that for now, for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very, very much for tuning in. Thank you, Mr. Man United fan, Kevin Price, Arsenal fan, and obviously I've been your host, Matthew, here from Top 6 Fan TV. Thank you for tuning into FanZone. Ladies and gentlemen, feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. Drop your comments as you go on. Of course, the show is still available for you to catch up with, primarily on YouTube, but we also have had it streaming on X, formerly known as Twitter. Happy New Year again. Have a great rest of the week, and we'll be back with some more great content next week. Have a good rest of the week and take care.